responded to the players saying that they want to get 25% with a hell no. With a hell no. And if you guys are interested in all this saga, please, lads, please, we're losing badly right now. We're losing badly. We've been trying to fight 57.2k, and dear Lord, it's gone bad. It's gone bad. We were straddling the line for a month, and then, oh God, we're now way off. Anyway, we're 24 off. Either way.
That response right there tells you everything you need to know about where these negotiations stand. The WNBA Players Association asked for 25% of gross revenue, and the league's answer? A hard no, not a counteroffer. Not a let's talk about this, just a flat rejection with a public statement about how unrealistic the proposal is. So we need to understand what's actually happening here, because this isn't just about money. This is about whether the 2026 season happens at all.
I mean this when I say this. I think the players are well within their right to ask for 25%. If we weren't this close to it. Asking for 25% up to 27 when they were already turned down on that realistically is not going to happen. And I actually don't think that I don't think in general that the players have to be the one to go down, because let's just say the players go down to 20, which I think somewhere between 20 and 22 it'll get signed off on. Like, they want 25%.
Here's the position the players are in right now. They initially asked for 40% of gross revenue back when negotiations started. The league countered with something significantly lower, so the players came down to 27%, got rejected again. Now they're at 25%, and the league is still saying no. Meanwhile, the league wants the players to accept a $5.6 million salary cap. The players are asking for $9.5 million, and the gap between those two numbers represents the fundamental disagreement about what this league is worth. The players have a legitimate argument here. They're the product. Without Caitlin Clark, without Aja Wilson, without Brianna Stewart, there is no WNBA. The ratings explosion in 2025 wasn't because of brilliant marketing or innovative broadcast deals. It was because generational talent entered the league and casual fans finally paid attention.
The league wants the players want the league to go up. The league haven't really gone up. There is no way, for the sake of a little bit of money, because the players want 9.5 million salary cap. I've said this plenty of times. I still think the salary cap is going to be 7.5 million. League wants 5.6. Players want 9. I've said it from the very start. 7.5 million sounds about right. And that will be my projection.
But here's where it gets complicated. The WNBA's revenue structure is fundamentally different from other professional leagues. The league itself only receives 42% of gross revenue. The rest goes to team owners, arena deals, local broadcast agreements, and other stakeholders who invested when the league was hemorrhaging money. So when players ask for 25% of gross revenue, they're asking for more than half of what the league actually controls. That's the math problem nobody wants to talk about publicly. And this is where the league made a critical mistake. Instead of coming back with a counterproposal, instead of moving their number up even slightly, they went straight to social media with a public rejection. They called the players' proposal unrealistic and claimed it would cost hundreds of millions in losses. That's the exact same tactic the players used weeks ago when they posted about their situationship with the league and encouraged fans to send angry emails to Commissioner Cathy Engelbert.
That being said, there are a lot of situations where the players have been in the wrong. There's a lot of situations where the league's in the wrong. And this is a situation where the league's in the wrong. The league did exactly what the players did. So you can criticize the players for a lot, and I think everyone is right. I think a lot of situations we are right to criticize the players. The players aren't right either. Aren't always going to be right either. I think some of the players, and by the way, a lot of it is not even players on the PA. Whoever runs a social media, Twitter or Instagram account is doing themselves.
So both sides are now negotiating through public statements and social media posts instead of at the bargaining table. And that's a massive red flag, because when you stop negotiating privately and start making public declarations, you're not trying to reach a deal anymore. You're trying to win the PR battle. You're positioning yourself for what comes next. And what comes next could be a work stoppage that kills the league entirely. Think about the timeline here. We're months away from the 2026 season. Training camps need to start. Free agency needs to happen. Teams need to know what their salary cap looks like so they can make roster decisions. And right now, nobody knows anything because these negotiations have completely stalled.
Like it is what it is. But the league going back and instead of giving a counter proposal, immediately going on social media and saying, no, this is unrealistic. Because I'm sorry, like, I get it. The gross revenue number, because of the revenue structure of the league, you're never going to get gross revenue. And the number is a little bit high. And I understand with the revenue structure of the league, the individual people that own smaller bits of the pie, the more money, the larger percentage of players get, the less chance they have of getting any return on their investments. I understand all of that.
Here's what makes this situation particularly dangerous for the WNBA. Unlike other professional leagues, WNBA players have somewhere else to go. If the NBA shuts down, those players aren't making millions in Europe. The international market can't support that. But WNBA players already play overseas every winter. They already have relationships with teams in Turkey, Spain, France, Russia before the war, and China. Those leagues pay decent money, not WNBA superstar money, for most players, but enough to survive. Now, the overseas option isn't as lucrative as people think. Diana Taurasi famously made 7 figures playing in Russia. Liz Cambage got $1 million deal in China. But those are the only 2 confirmed 7-figure contracts in the history of women's basketball overseas. Breanna Stewart going to play in an unstructured league isn't making $1 million. She'd be lucky to clear $100,000. But here's the thing. If there's no WNBA season, $100,000 overseas is better than $0 sitting at home.
Like, do the league not have some way of kind of countering quick? My hope is that they counter back, because we're now at the stage where the league holding out and not saying anything for 6 weeks because they want the players to have to put in something better is big. I genuinely think this is the way it'll get sorted. League goes to 20%. Players go to 22%. We're good. We're good. That would be it. And you might be saying that, oh, it means...
And that's where the real danger comes in. If the WNBA misses the 2026 season because of a work stoppage, there might not be a 2027 season. The league has been building momentum for years, but it's still not profitable for most teams. Investors are in this for the long game, betting that women's basketball will eventually generate sustainable revenue. But if you tell those investors that the season is canceled because players and owners couldn't agree on a deal, a lot of them are going to walk away. They're not going to sit around for 2 years waiting for negotiations to restart while paying arena leases and staff salaries with no games being played. The league knows this. The players know this. And yet both sides are digging in instead of finding middle ground. The players feel like they've already compromised by coming down from 40% to 25%. The league feels like the players are asking for an unsustainable percentage that doesn't account for the revenue structure reality.
5% themselves. The league only gets 35% themselves. 40% is absolutely outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. And I think anyone with a brain knows that when the league gets 42% and you're trying to take 40% of the league's gross revenue, when the league itself only gets 42% of gross revenue, like you know that that's not going to happen. And I think that was just the reality is that going down to 20 means the players have half what they wanted, but the owners have given double what they wanted to give out. $7.5 million salary cap would be crazy to turn down. It'd be crazy to turn down. And I think this is a huge risk when it comes down to it for the WNBA players, because...
So where does this actually end up? The realistic compromise is somewhere between 20 and 22% of gross revenue, with a salary cap around $7.5 million. That's the number that makes sense mathematically. It gives players a significant raise from the current deal. It gives the league room to grow without bankrupting teams that are still losing money. And it's roughly the midpoint between where both sides started after the initial ridiculous proposals got rejected. But getting to that compromise requires both sides to move simultaneously. The league needs to come up from their $5.6 million salary cap offer. The players need to come down from their 25% revenue share demand. And right now, neither side is budging because they're both trying to win the public relations battle instead of actually negotiating.
And I mean this when I say this, like, that is a valid argument. That is a valid argument. Because, like, again, if there's a strike, it's done. There's not going to be a league. It's as simple as that. If the strike is performative and it lasts a short amount of time, okay. But if the strike obviously lasts going into 2-3 months, or the strike lasts more than the season, it's just done. There's no point even worrying about it. Like, the league's over. Like, if this season doesn't happen, there's not going to be a 2027 season. Get used to watching Caitlin Clark playing for Team USA, and that's it. Get excited for the World Cup. Because if you are a Caitlin Clark fan, you're probably never, you may never see Caitlin Clark play another game of pro basketball again. Like, there is a world where that happens. I don't think it's a likelihood, but I don't think she plays in AU. I don't think she plays in her rivals, and I don't think anyone's going to be able to set up another league in the next, like, 8 months or so. In the next 8 months to get
Here's what people need to understand about the stakes here. If you're a Caitlin Clark fan who started watching the WNBA in 2025, there's a real possibility you may never see her play professional basketball again. Not in the WNBA, not overseas, not in some startup rival league, because if this season doesn't happen, the league folds. And Caitlin Clark isn't going to Europe to play for $60,000 when she's making millions in endorsements. She'll play for Team USA in international competitions, and that's it. The same goes for Paige Buicks, who's supposed to be the #1 pick in the 2026 draft. If there's no season, there's no draft. If there's no draft, her professional career starts in limbo. And if the league folds entirely, she becomes the biggest what-if in women's basketball history. The player who was supposed to be the next face of the WNBA, but never got the chance because the league imploded during a labor dispute. That's not hypothetical fear-mongering. That's the actual risk right now. The WNBA has never been more popular. Ratings are up, attendance is up, sponsorship deals are rolling in, and the league is on the verge of destroying all that momentum, because players and owners can't agree on how to split revenue that didn't even exist 3 years ago. Think about how insane that is. The league just had its best season ever. Multiple games drew over 1 million viewers. Caitlin Clark's debut broke attendance records in nearly every arena she played in. Corporate sponsors who ignored women's basketball for decades are suddenly throwing money at the league. And instead of capitalizing on that momentum, instead of riding this wave as far as it can go, both sides are threatening to blow it all up over a few percentage points. The players have legitimate grievances. They're the reason the league is suddenly profitable. They're the ones playing in front of sold-out crowds. They're the ones doing the media appearances and building the fan base. They deserve to be compensated fairly for that. But fairly has to account for economic reality. And the economic reality is that the WNBA's revenue structure doesn't work the same way as the NBA's. The league doesn't control enough of the gross revenue to give players 25% without bankrupting teams. The owners also have legitimate concerns. Most WNBA teams still lose money. The league has been subsidized by the NBA for years. Investors who bought teams recently paid premium prices betting on future growth, not current profitability. If you force those owners to pay players a percentage that makes their investment unsustainable, they're going to sell. And who's buying a WNBA team that's guaranteed to lose money every year? Nobody. Which means teams fold, which means the league contracts, which means fewer roster spots, fewer jobs, and less opportunity for everyone. So both sides need to stop posturing and start negotiating. The players need to accept that 25% isn't realistic given the revenue structure. The league needs to accept that $5.6 million salary cap is insulting given the growth the players have generated. Meet in the middle, sign a deal, save the league. Because here's the thing, nobody wants to say out loud, if the 2026 season doesn't happen, the WNBA is done. Not on hiatus, not postponed, done. The momentum dies, the casual fans move on, the corporate sponsors redirect their money to other sports. And in 5 years, we'll be talking about the WNBA the way we talk about the XFL or the USFL, a league that had potential, had a moment, but couldn't get out of its own way. The players have more leverage than they've ever had, but leverage only matters if you're willing to use it strategically. Threatening to strike when the league is at its peak popularity is a high-risk move. If it works, players get a much better deal and set themselves up for long-term success. If it fails, they kill the league and lose everything. The league has more financial resources than the players. But resources don't matter if your product disappears. The WNBA without its star players is worthless. You can't just replace Caitlin Clark or Aja Wilson with whoever's available. The fans are here for specific players. If those players aren't playing, the fans leave. And if the fans leave, the sponsors leave. And if the sponsors leave, the league has no revenue to fight over in the first place. So both sides need to recognize that they need each other. Players need the league to provide a platform and infrastructure. The league needs players to generate interest and revenue. Neither side can succeed without the other. And right now, Both sides are acting like they're willing to burn it all down to prove a point. The solution is obvious. The players come down to 22%. The league goes up to a $7.5 million salary cap. Both sides declare victory. The players get a massive raise compared to the current deal. The league maintains financial sustainability. The 2026 season happens on time. Everybody wins. But that requires both sides to stop negotiating through social media and start negotiating at the table. It requires the Players Association to stop encouraging fans to harass the commissioner. It requires the league to stop releasing public statements calling the players' proposals unrealistic. It requires adults to act like adults and find a compromise that works for everyone. So the question is, will they do it? Or are we about to watch the WNBA destroy itself at the exact moment it finally achieved mainstream relevance? Because that's where we are right now. The league has never been more popular, never had more potential, and never been closer to complete collapse. And the people who have the power to fix this are too busy fighting each other to see the cliff they're both about to drive off. If you think the players are right to hold out for 25%, drop a comment. If you think they need to compromise and take the deal, let me know, because this gets resolved in the next few weeks, or it doesn't get resolved at all. And if it doesn't get resolved, we just witnessed the peak of the WNBA. Everything from here is decline. So pick a side, make your argument, and let's see who's still standing when this is over.